we have your weekend Apple news. Welcome back to the channel. So you know what we do on the weekends by now, at least I hope you do. Of course, we go through the Apple news. So I'm going to go through about 20 or 25 different Apple-related news stories. I'm going to throw in some tech sales, some Apple products, some other tech sales. And on the weekends, because it is the weekends, I usually have a beer. I'm back to my old faithful here, the Yingling. And we just sit back and have some fun on the weekends, right? That's what it's all about. So if you love Apple products and services and everything else, including tech, let's get into it right now. All right, story number one. I just actually talked about this a couple weeks ago on how Apple Refurbished is kind of going downhill. But actually, this is not too bad right now, although it is refurbished. But take a look over here, Mac Rumors. Apple begins selling refurbished Mac Studios with M4 Max and M3 Ultra chips at a discount. So these are a little bit harder to get at a discount right now. It says, as of today, Mac Studio models of the M4 Max and M3 Ultra chips it's added it to its certified online refurbished store in the United States, Canada, Japan, Singapore, and many European countries. So definitely take a look for it. So I went over here and I actually opened it up, and sure and behold, look at this. Right in here, $16.99 right here. Well, this is the M2, but this is the M4 Max right here. This is kind of the base level, right? 32-core GPU, $16.99, usually $19.99, so it is $300 off. Now, I've seen that at Micro Center a couple times for around that same cost, but some people don't have Micro Centers, and you get all the support here. And let's just be honest, these are basically new, right? You know that. These are new. Anyways, you get the idea here. So $16.99 for that. So the first Ultra I could find in here, let me just go down here, see if I can find an Ultra. It said they were doing the Ultras too, so can I actually find it? Oh, right here. Looks like this is the first one right here, $3,399. That's $600 off right now, so usually $4,000. Let's click on this one just to see what this is all about. This actually wouldn't be a bad deal because you can't really get it anywhere else right now. Take a look at this, M3 Ultra chip, 28-core CPU, 60-core GPU, but look at this, 96 gigs of RAM, 1 terabyte SSD here, and it's, what is it, $33.99, $600 off. So what do you know? There's actually a couple, I don't know if I call them great deals, but they're deals on Apple Refurbished, so check it out. Okay, so let's say you don't have a ton of money. What do I recommend buying as far as Macs and stuff? Well, obviously, if you don't have a Micro Center, you can always look to kind of match things, but here's at Micro Center a pretty good sale here. Right here, this is going to be the Apple MacBook Air 13-inch, right? So 13-inch, but this is going to be 16 gigs of RAM, 256, but it's only the M3 chip. But look at the price here. So I know you can get the M4 for $850 now, somewhere in that range, but if you have you don't have a big budget, right? You have to spend the least amount of money, maybe for college or something. $746 for an M3 with the 16 gigs of RAM is a really good fair price, and this is not going to be refurbished from Micro Center. So you can go in, if you can find stuff like this at Best Buy and stuff, just ask them to match it. They have to, I think, and at least they will. I've had it happen to me many times. Now, I'm not saying that don't buy it from Micro Center. If you can get it there, buy it there. I'm just trying to help out the brick and mortar so they actually stay in business so that all the stuff we go to is not just always Amazon. But anyways, check that out. I think that's a fairly good lowest price alert on kind of the lowest Mac maybe I would actually recommend to a student or something. M3 is still pretty good. Okay, for the next story, and let me actually just start off by saying a couple videos ago I did a video right here. You can see it right here. And I talked about iPadOS 26 that's coming out, how it's becoming more like Mac, like the features of it are coming more like a macOS type system, all right? And I think that's all a good thing. They're kind of marrying the two here. Here's an article on why it actually took so long for Apple to implement this, though. So Mac Rumors, it says Apple explains why iPad multitasking took so long to arrive. So it says right here, in an interview or a new interview from Ars Technica, Apple software chief Craig here has explained why the iPad took so long to gain proper window multitasking. And again, if you haven't really watched my video or even heard about it, you can now take multiple windows, open up to all different sizes, have multiple apps running. It's more of like a windowing system based off of a Mac, basically. So what he basically said down here, and I read the whole article, I'll get into it here in a second. He said it is a foundational requirement that if you touch the screen and start to move something, that it responds, he says. Otherwise, the entire interaction model is broken. You can see it right there. And then he says, and so the stars kind of align. So what was he saying here? He's saying really the size of it got bigger as far as the iPad, so you could actually have more, more windows open at the same time, and it made sense. Number two is the processing power. He said simply it was coming down to older Macs, or not Macs, older iPads couldn't handle it. And now with the M2, M3, M4 chips, it's just like a Mac basically. So why not, right? So, and then we go down to here, a couple things down here, and it says, While iPadOS 26 allows for multiple app windows, there are limitations on how many apps can open at once. So basically here, on older iPads, for example, you're limited to only 4 apps. I don't know if people knew that. Newer iPads can have more than 4 open. It doesn't give you an amount though. So you can see that it was really that limiting factor of the CPU power that actually made them, finally start doing this. And that's actually a good thing, right? They actually finally got it powerful enough, and we're always wondering what the power's for. I think we finally found out. I think it was for this. Okay, I hope everyone's having a great week. Cheers. Weekend. All right. This next one's got me super excited because, I talked about this maybe a week ago. The Shortcuts app on macOS or your iPhone, it's getting way more powerful right here, Mac Rumors. Here's what you can do with the new, basically with the iOS 26 Apple Intelligence Shortcuts app, right? And you kind of recognize it here. So basically they overhauled it in iOS, iPadOS, and then macOS Tahoe. You can see it all in here. So for summaries, they have some kind of preset things, just examples. Use the model to describe the day ahead of you. Action items from meeting notes. Use the model to grab action items from meeting notes. Leftover recipes. Use the model to whip up a quick recipe with leftovers that you have in the fridge. You can do all this stuff, summarize a PDF, but those things are kind of already out there, right? You can already do those without even using this. So to me, that's not the big part. The big part comes over here. Right here, it says when you go to create a shortcut, there's a new Apple Intelligence section. You can opt basically to use an on-device model, a cloud model that takes advantage of the private cloud compute or ChatGPT, which is the cool one. There's some predetermined options, so you can do things like open visual intelligence or generate an image with the image playground, which is kind of cool. But you can open up visual intelligence, through this whole process. So if we kind of scroll down here even further, it says when you tap on the cloud on-device model, the ChatGPT, there's an open-ended prompt where you can write what you want it to do. So if you take a look down in this picture down here, here's the open-ended prompt, and they're selecting the cloud model here. I guess you could select ChatGPT. This says, give me my morning report summarizing my day based on this info. Format it nicely. So you kind of give it a prompt, just like you would ChatGPT. You put in the information of where you want to pull the information from, or you can get it directly from ChatGPT, and then you can create like your little widget, which is going to be in here. And it's going to go into that Shortcuts app. So now Shortcuts is so super easy because you can actually describe it what you want to do instead of actually program it. You just have to tell it where to get the information from, which is going to be maybe a little bit of the learning curve. But if you can imagine what this opens up, it's massive, especially with visual intelligence. Because if that's true, and obviously they have to get this perfected first, it's not out yet, but when it is, you'll be able to take a picture of your fridge, right, and then just upload it to this thing. You can say like, I'm going to upload it. Basically you have a widget, right? You click on the widget, it says here's the picture, and send me the picture. You upload the picture to it, and then it'll spit out what you could make as far as a recipe for with everything that's in your fridge, because it's using visual intelligence. There's things like that you can do with this now, instantaneous. The sky's the limit because you can reach out to ChatGPT and pull information back as long as you okay it. It says you have to okay it in here. Long story short, it's going to be super powerful, and it's going to be very customized to whatever you want and what you use every single day. Okay, we have a couple more sales here, then we're going to get back to the news. Again, this is from Micro Center here. This is the Apple MacBook Air 15-inch. I thought this was kind of a good deal. 16 gigs of RAM, 256. Down to $1,079. Obviously, you can see here $120 off. I just think that's a super solid price for the 15-inch and the 16 gigs of RAM here. And obviously, this is the only caveat here, but you can get an external SSD. 256 is pretty low. I don't highly recommend it, but still. We're talking 10. This is one of the lowest I've seen this price at. So I think that's a really good deal right now. Again, price match at whatever you want. Just tell them you have it here, and you can go out and get it somewhere else, brick and mortar. All right, here's another one that they had here. I thought this was kind of cool. Now this is certified refurbished right here, but keep in mind that when they're certified refurbished, it's almost like Apple's. It's very, very perfect condition. So we have an Apple iMac right here, all-in-one desktop. Now this is going to be the M3 chip. All right, but look at this, 24 gigs of RAM. So it's got the most RAM it could have then, and 2 terabyte SSD right there, 2 terabytes, $11.99. So this is it's $800 off. Look at that. Even though it's refurbished, it's going to be perfect condition. So pick this up. This is going to be a perfect editing machine if you think about it. It's got the M3 chip, 24 gigs of RAM, and 2 terabyte SSD. So if you're doing YouTube videos and stuff like that, this is perfect. And it's $11.99. I think it's just a steal right there. Really good price from Micro Center. Okay, so if you just watched WWDC 2025, you're going to know one glaring kind of omission, and that's obviously Apple Intelligence, right? They spent like 2 seconds on it, and I think everyone noticed that. Nobody's really talking about it. I'm going to just kind of say it myself. Right over here, this is going to be Mac Rumors. It says WWDC. Apple says personalized Siri features are still not ready. Take a look at that. So obviously that was a huge disappointment for a lot of people because we're all waiting for it, right? They think the HomePad or whatever they're making is going to need it. The Shortcuts app I just talked about might need it because it's going to use that, personalized. You can use a whole bunch of things. But long story short, it's going to need it to actually make this work, right? So I'm thinking like, why wouldn't they announce something? But I think they're kind of doing the right thing because they probably just don't know yet, and they're still having issues with it. But then I was reading another article which really made me worried here. So 9 to 5 Mac here, it says Apple confirms Siri delayed features won't ship until 2026. So it says, in a new interview, Apple executives have narrowed the timeline for when to expect Siri's delayed AI upgrades, confirming they will release in 2026 and no sooner. So I kind of read through this, and I think it said something like June or, I don't know, May or something. I mean, it was a long time ago. I have no idea when it was, but 2026, can you imagine? So it's going to be like 2 years after they actually pitched it and sold their iPhones based off of this, and it doesn't even have it yet. So they're in some trouble maybe, I don't know. But I think, like I said, there's an opportunity to win everything if they do it right, all right? If it works, if it's secure, and if it's better than the competition, then they got a thing going for them. If it's not, after all that time, they're in some trouble, right? But again, for us, it doesn't really matter because we can use outside stuff like ChatGPT and other stuff. But overall, I just thought that was kind of a tail between the legs. Okay, at WWDC we also saw macOS Tahoe, right? The new name is going to be macOS Tahoe. There's a lot of cool features that they said. Maybe not a ton, but there's a couple small ones they didn't really talk about too much. Just want to touch on them right over here. Mac Rumors, it says macOS Tahoe, all the little changes you can see right here. So we kind of scroll down in here, and so what are some of the little changes that I thought was kind of interesting? Let's just talk about some of them. I mean, a big one here is going to be the Spotlight clipboard access. Spotlight can now search clipboard history, including items in the universal clipboard. That was a big one. This next one here is kind of funny, though. Apple has flipped the color of the classic Finder icon in Tahoe. So if you scroll down here, here's the Finder icon, blue on the left, white on the white on the right here. So let's just go over here. It says the blue is now on the right side of the face instead of the left. It has been very kind of a glassy cast to it. So I'm not sure. Why would they flip those colors? It makes no sense to me. That seems like, I understand, giving it the glossy look because of the new kind of glass type theme, but why would they change the colors of it? Does anyone have anything in the comments? A couple other small ones that no one really mentioned here was this PS5 controller options. I think this is good if you're going to game a little bit. A new game controller setting menu lets you remap and customize PlayStation controllers right down to the level of haptic feedback. That's going to actually be really cool for people that play a lot of games like that, right? Let's just kind of see what else they have. At Image Playground can now use ChatGPT to create the most realistic pictures based on your prompts. So if you remember Image Playground before, all the prompts were like these little cartoon type things. Now it can go off to ChatGPT and pull real images, like actual things that are going to look pretty good. And it says, I read the article, it says that it doesn't also like do the copyright stuff. It'll let you basically take anything you want and actually create it for you. There's ways to get around it where Apple's very strict on that, or Apple won't let you do things that are kind of mean and things like that. Well, this will. So it's kind of changing its stance on it because it's kind of realizes it pretty much has to. Anyways, they have a lot of cool features that are being added. We're going to see a whole bunch more come out. It does say right here that anyone can basically technically install the developer beta right now, but Apple is planning to provide a public beta in July. So if you're thinking about getting it anytime soon, the actual beta for the public is probably not going to come out, I think, until like the middle of July sometime. So you're going to have to wait for that, and then after that's done, it's going to be released officially. So it could be maybe a month to 2 months away from actually having this, in the wild, maybe even longer, we don't know. So, you got to hold on for a while, but there's some cool features with macOS Tahoe as well. Okay, this next article right here is from Apple Insider. It says iOS 26 adds voicemail spam reporting and new screening tools. See it right there? So if you take a look at this picture, what does that mean? So live voicemail, basically view a real-time transcription of a message someone is leaving as they speak, giving you immediate context for the call. So basically you can go ahead and look at your screen while someone's leaving a message on the phone, but it's going to kind of transcribe it to you so you can read it out before, while they're doing it in real time. You don't have to wait for them to do it and then post it and then you go back and listen to it. You can actually see it in real time. I guess maybe you can then hit a button and it'll like open the call up if you actually want to speak to them or something, or you just can get it, just quicker than you normally could. So that's pretty cool. This next one's actually really interesting too. Calls from unsaved numbers will be asked for more information before iPhone rings. So basically you can actually turn this on and it's going to make them answer a few questions before it actually rings on your side, so you can kind of screen the call. So if it's actually someone selling something and all that kind of stuff. So it's interesting. I mean, I don't know what the questions are going to be actually or how they're going to do that. I mean, is it going to say, are you selling something? If you are, leave a message or something. I don't know. But it's kind of interesting that they're going to be doing some of these call screening features as well, all built in. Okay, we have a couple sales here for iPads. Now, we just talked about in a couple of videos ago how good iPad OS 26 is going to be, right? It's going to be like a Mac, so definitely pick one up. But right now on Amazon, they have a sale going on, 20% off right now, and this is going to be the Apple, the 8.3-inch mini here with 128 gigs. So usually, what is this? Usually $499, now it's $399, so 20% off on that. And this is the brand new A17 Pro one, so this is the mini and the newest one right there. That's a pretty good deal. And then the next one over here is going to be the Apple iPad Air. This is the M3 chip, so that's the newest one as well. 128 gigs of RAM. That's $499 down from $599, so that's 17% off. So a lot of sales here. I think this device would be perfect right now. Even the cheap one, even the one I have sitting right here on my desk here, is going to be perfect for this because these things are going to just be awesome now with the actual windowing and all the the menu bar and stuff like that. So I'm excited to test it out. Anyways, I think it's a pretty good sale. I haven't seen them too much cheaper than this, so they're on sale right now at Amazon. Okay, WWDC came out. A lot of people are kind of in that kind of high right now. But this article was interesting to me because these are the challenges that Apple still has to deal with, right? What are they? Apple Insider. New report about Apple's 10 main challenges ignores these main factors. So we're kind of going down here. What are their main challenges? It says right here, Apple's behind in artificial intelligence. We all kind of know that. Whether they are going to come out strong, I think they will. Then the next thing, there is no big next thing, right? Next big thing. So everyone's searching for that next big product, and it's not going to be. I hate to tell you, it's not going to be AI goggles. It might be the glasses, but I don't see everyone wearing glasses either. Maybe contacts, but people don't like to wear contacts, so who knows? Number 3, Apple Vision Pro is too expensive. That's an issue. We know that. It's going to take another year or two to get that price down, so that's hurting them right now. Google search deal may end. That's another one, $20 billion a year. For basically doing nothing. That's going to probably end as well. App Store changes in developer relations. So obviously Apple now they can't take that cut of the money, right, from the App Store because the government, or not the government, but judges actually ruled against them. So there's another hit to Apple. Global regulations and government scrutiny. All over Europe, that happens every single day with Apple. All over the world, actually. So that's actually bringing them down a little bit too. Tariffs and having to reshore manufacturing. It's going to be a big cost for them. Tariffs are going to hit them as well. Now, granted, I believe manufacturing should come back if it can, but it's still going to maybe dent it a little bit. I don't think it'll be as much as you think, though. You watch. It says right here, Tim Cook and the most executives are at retirement age. Now, that could either be a good thing or a bad thing, all right? Because it could be a good thing because it could push the company in a different, better direction maybe, right? You never know about that. That can go either way. Right down here, China sales are down. That's actually a big one. So Apple in China is way down because Apple's leaving China. China's kind of maybe pushing more not to buy Apple. So their sales are going to keep declining there, I think, overall. And that's going to be an issue. And then finally, number 10, iPhone users are not upgrading as quickly. That's the biggest one yet because obviously that's their biggest chunk. I think it's like 50 or 60% of all their products are basically iPhones. And that's where they make almost all of their money. It's their meat and potatoes. So that's the big one right there. They're making the phones too good, but the problem is everyone else is making them even better, right? So they have to. They can't like make them bad so that you have to buy them every 2 or 3 years. They have to innovate. That's the only way to do it. Everyone else is. So it's a challenge. What do you guys think? Okay, this next one's actually interesting to me just because we're talking so much about Apple Intelligence. Right here, 9 to 5 Mac, it says Apple just gave its developers access to its new local AI models. Here's how they perform. So let me kind of scroll down here and I want to just kind of put this into context because this is kind of hard to explain. It says in Apple's testing, its 3 billion parameter on-device model outperforms similar lightweight vision language models. So we're talking, this is a very small model for on the phone or on the device. And you can see this is the column over here. So if you have to add basically, here's blue is winning, this middle color is tying, and this is losing. So you have to really add, the winning and the tying right here versus the other company right here. And this is the model right here. So this is the model it's up against. So for example, this next one, Qwen 2.5, you can see that Apple's winning 50.7% of the time. It's tying 21% of the time. It's losing 27.4%. So Apple's winning there. And then Gamma 3, Apple's winning 28.6%, tying 43%. And then losing 28.3, but they're still beating them. Look at that, just by a hair, but they're still beating them. Now this is going to be where Apple's server comes in, and this is where the big language models, like we're talking, 128 gig models and stuff like that. You can see here, it's not winning. It's not doing nearly as well yet. And that's the part we're waiting for, right? So this is going to be Llama 4, basically the Scout. You can see that they're winning only 24% of the time and tying 43%. And then basically Llama is basically winning 31%. So they're kind of beating Apple there. And then over here, this next one here is going to be 33.9% for Apple, 38% tie, and then 27%. Well, they're actually beating Qwen 2.5 here, so they're winning this model over, which is actually good. But look at ChatGPT 40 or dash 40. This is actually, only 17.7% Apple's winning versus 60% with ChatGPT. So they're getting killed by them, and you can see that there. So long story short, it's kind of interesting to just look at the models, and you can see that they're actually doing really well on the on-device where everything's protected and it's more secure. But going off devices where they're having some issues, and I think that's just going to slowly ramp up. They have so much money they can deal with it, and it's actually beating this Qwen 2.5, and actually Llama it's really close to, so they're pretty close there. I mean, ChatGPT had such a huge lead on everybody that that's actually going to be, I'm not too surprised that that's actually happening. So if they can narrow that gap, every single month, I think we have some good news coming. We'll find out, though. It might be another 6 months or so before we see it. Okay, with all the updates on macOS Tahoe, I actually missed this one. I mean, I didn't really realize this was happening, and I don't know why. I just didn't maybe hear it. Mac rumors. It says macOS Tahoe transforms Launchpad into app library. macOS Tahoe does away with the Launchpad feature that's designed to show you all the apps in your Mac, instead replacing it with a new applications interface that's similar to the app library on the iPhone or the iPad. You can see it in here. So the Launchpad, which is right down here, right? If I actually launch mine by doing that, but it's right here, obviously. You click on it. Let me click on it again. Here's your Launchpad in here. It's doing away with that supposedly in Tahoe. At least that's what this article says. So I got to prove that. I'm not so sure. I mean, that's what it says, right? So did you guys know that? I didn't know that. Something you learn every single day. All right, this next one's actually a big one for a lot of people, and people ask me about the iPad OS and also Mac OS if this is going to be possible, and it is right here. Mac rumors. iPad OS 26 and Mac OS Tahoe included phone app with call screening, hold assist, and more. But long story short, you can now take calls, receive calls, make calls, basically like as if you were sitting at your iPhone. Before, you had to actually have your iPhone close to you because I think you could hear calls, but you couldn't make calls. But now you can make calls and actually hear the calls coming in. And so if you have your phone downstairs and a call comes in, you can answer it through this. You can also make calls from it using your voice and everything like that. So it's basically like a built-in phone. So if you have an iPad, for example, and you don't have a phone, you can, well, I guess you need the phone because you need the actual SIM card. But long story short, you get the idea. Let's say you had it upstairs and you were doing something and your phone rang. You can still answer the call and actually make a call right off of it. And that's actually on the Mac as well, the Mac computer, so it's a pretty big change. A quick little sale here. It's not the best sale right over here, but Apple AirPods 4, this is kind of the lower version of it here. They're on sale right now, but 23% off, $99, usually $130. I mean, I think that's right around the low price alert. I haven't seen it too much cheaper than that. I think maybe every once in a while it goes down to $89, but it's back on sale now. So if you want to pick these up, I think they're a great choice for a lot of people, definitely. Okay, iPad OS 26 again. So you're kind of wondering, is my iPad going to be compatible with this even? Because now it looks more like it's going to look like a Mac as far as the OS and everything. But is my system even compatible? Right here. This is Mac rumors. Apple says iPad OS is compatible with these iPad models. So we're going to scroll down here. Right there. So here we go. You can see the models in here, the iPad Pro M4. I'm not going to read all of them. You can go ahead and just kind of pause this. The big thing is with the iPads, though, it's only the A16 here. You can see it there. So the earlier version, is not going to be compatible. Only the A16. So I'm guessing it's going to be more really the ones that can do, Apple Intelligence right now. But you can go ahead and pause this. But these are all the lists of the ones that are actually going to be capable of doing the tiling, windowing, and having the menu bars and all that stuff. So if you have one older than this, you're pretty much screwed. Okay, if you have an iPhone, there's kind of a cool thing that they added here. I mean, it was actually on the Mac computer a long time ago. Then they took it away for some reason. Mac rumors. It says iOS 26 lets you know how long it'll take for your battery to charge. See this? So I'm not exactly sure. I think it's going to be right here. So I think as you're charging it, it's going to give you a number like 41 minutes left. See it right there? I think that's where it's going to be. It's hard to tell by the article. It says 2% today. But long story short, once you get into the app, it's going to give you exactly a time on how long it's going to be done to complete the charge. And then when you plug in different things, it's going to tell you if it's a fast charge or a slow charge, things like that. But overall, it's going to give you that exact time. So if you're waiting to charge your phone, fully and you're looking at it, you're going to know it's 30 minutes. So I think that's a helpful change, albeit a small one. This next one's interesting if you maybe camp or you go hiking and stuff like that and you have an iPhone. So you've all heard about the satellite capability of the phone now where you can do emergency calls on it via satellite if you're not in kind of the cell service area. Well, there's actually another thing right here. This is 9to5 Mac. It says iOS 26 beta reveals there's another Apple app that will work via satellite. And we kind of scroll down. So what is it? So it says right down here, let me just see. Basically now with weather forecast updates, it's going to have weather forecast updates via just satellite. So you don't need to actually use your your data. So if you go into the mountains and you don't have cell service, obviously you can make a call and all that stuff because you got that going. But now you can actually check the weather as well. They're saying that it's important for hikers and campers that could be deep into the woods where there could be a big storm coming and they don't know about it. So they're adding that capability in iOS 26 where you don't actually need to be connected to get weather updates, which is kind of cool. Okay, now if you use CarPlay, there's a couple small changes they didn't actually talk about too much. Right over here, Mac Rumors, it says Apple highlights 2 smaller CarPlay changes in iOS 18.4 and iOS 26, all right? You can see a picture of it over here. So we're going to kind of scroll down here. Let me just see. So it says specifically Apple said that iOS 26 will allow CarPlay users to interact with the mapping apps using multi-touch gestures, basically in supported vehicles. This will allow users to zoom and pan on the map with their fingers, just like they can on an iPhone. Now, I didn't even know that wasn't available. I always thought you could, but I guess now you can pinch and zoom the entire map, and it'll work perfectly just like your iPhone. That's one big one. And what was the second one here? Oh, right here, it says CarPlay apps that stream audio or live sport events can now show scoreboards basically for the game on the CarPlay screen. That's kind of cool. Right alongside controls for the audio feed. The revamped Now Playing view can show team logos, scores, the game clock, and more. They don't really give a good picture of it here, but because they're just kind of laying it out, I guess. This is kind of what it would look like. But if you can envision maybe the scores over here, and then like obviously some other stuff in the middle, like, you know, talking about the game here and stuff, like what inning it's in. But you can actually get all that information. So if you're driving and your favorite team's on, you can look down and get the score really quickly as you're listening to the game. If you miss something, or you can get like what count it is or something. I mean, I think it's a little distracting, right? But still, it's kind of a cool feature if you're a sports lover. Oh yeah, and another thing here that you can do on CarPlay, Mac Rumors, it says Apple to let iPhone users watch videos on CarPlay screen while parked. So this is going to be really cool. It's saying if you have an iPhone, you can basically port it over and watch, you know, anything off of your phone on your CarPlay screen now, as long as you're parked and not moving in the car. Now, we know Teslas have had that for a while, but this is really interesting because let's say you're sitting and charging a car, for example. Let's say it's not a Tesla, but a car where you have to sit there for 5 or 10 minutes. You can actually now stream something to the screen of CarPlay and watch a movie or something like that, or a show right on that screen. Again, you can't be moving in the car, but that's actually a very nice change. Okay, now this one requires me to take a sip, because after reading this, I can't believe this was actually the case. But, I mean, I guess people would know this, right? Tell me if you guys knew this. I mean, I just never crossed my mind. Mac Rumors, iOS 26 adds custom snooze times after years of 9 minutes. So basically, long story short, you could only set a snooze for 9 minutes before. So like if you actually had a snooze for some reason, you could set it to 9 minutes and the snooze would go off every single 9 minutes. Now it's saying that you can actually do it, you know, anywhere from 1 to 15 minutes, finally breaking free from the 9-minute default I don't even know why they'd only go to 15 minutes for, you know, who knows? Why wouldn't it go to 30 or an hour? Long story short, it's giving you an option, like a little slider now, where you can actually choose if you want like a 2-minute snooze, 15-minute snooze. 9 minutes is out, but now that I read this, is it really just up to 15 minutes? That makes no sense to me. When's if you want like a half hour, right? Is Apple against you sleeping in? This next one over here is for the new possible Apple kind of AR glasses, maybe. Not the goggles, not Vision Pro, but something different like Meta. So right over here, 9 to 5 Mac here. Here are 3 ways Apple's rumored AI smart glasses could beat Meta Ray-Bans. You know Meta Ray-Bans, obviously. And they're on sale right now on, I think, Amazon. So we kind of scroll down here. What he's saying here, and I agree with one of them, and I actually highlighted it here. He's saying deep integration with Siri personal context. But I read his standpoint was like, you know, they can't do it from Meta, and if you have an iPhone, this would be key. And that's obvious, right? That doesn't really, I mean, that's obviously obvious. So I'm not too worried about that. If they can do that for Apple users, it would be great. But this next one's the higher quality cameras. This is the big one for me. I mean, I do a lot of filming like this. If I had glasses that wouldn't just film in, you know, obviously portrait mode, I could do landscape mode in a very high quality, and I could do products and stuff. It would really help me from trying to do one person of setting up a tripod and everything. That would be massive, you know, huge for me. I mean, I don't know about a lot of people, but I think the camera is a huge key here, because if you're on vacation, you can be taking pictures of things and you get a way better image there, or a video, obviously. And then down here he says notification management as well. So you can, I'm not exactly sure where he's going there, but still, he's saying that these 3 things are how he can beat Meta. The thing I'm not so sure about is like by the time Apple comes out with these things, those 3 things are going to be completely different, because in the next iteration of Meta, you know, they're going to have a way better camera. They're going to have, you know, deep integration with probably AI even. So, you know, this is obviously what he's saying right now as of today, but by the time it comes out, even if it's a couple months from now, I'm guessing they're going to already have it. So this thing just keeps moving. It's just always moving. Okay, this next one, just so you guys have the information out there in case you like this kind of stuff, even though like I think 92% of men watch my channel, so most of us probably won't use this. Mac rumors, the Journal app finally coming to the Mac and the iPad. Apple's Journal app is finally coming to the Mac and the iPad 26 here, the macOS 26. So it says, to date, the Journal app has only been available on iPhone. With iOS 26, iPad OS 26, and Mac OS 26 is going to be a cross-platform application. You can see it there. So it says you can jot down your thoughts, illustrate, and create entries into your own handwriting using Apple Pencil whenever inspiration strikes. Basically, multiple journals let you keep entries for different aspects of your life in separate images. You get the idea. So again, this is not something typically like a ton of men use. I mean, I'm not saying that you could use it for anything, right? I mean, it's probably got a use for everybody, but it's out there, it's coming. I mean, the Apple Pencil, it says, but obviously for the iPad, that makes sense, but for the Mac, it doesn't. So I'm not too excited about it, but who knows? It's just, I wanted to tell you. Okay, this product's owned by Apple, and it's a pretty good sale right here. Here it is on Amazon. We got the Beats Solo 4 right now, wireless Bluetooth on-ear headphones. They're actually 50% off right now, limited time deal. Usually $200. Now it's $199. I show you the blue version there, but it looks like all the, they got pink here and they got black. So I think it's a pretty good deal there, 50% off. For some reason, let me just see. Well, yeah, they're on sale right now. So I've actually used these one time, and they have really good sound for what they are. For $99, I think that's a pretty good deal there. So overall, check it out. Okay, this next one's actually kind of funny. Do you remember the Vision Pro when it came out? The personas, how people thought they looked. A lot of times it made them look really crazy, and everyone's complaining about it. Like, especially girls, they'd do their hair up or something and do it, and they'd be like, mortified on how they look and stuff. Well, anyways, they're making it better, and it's actually shockingly better. Right over here, 9 to 5 Mac. Apple overhauls Vision Pro Personas feature, now with a much higher quality 3D avatar. So take a look at the difference here. Here's the one, they said they kept making them better over the versions as Vision OS came out, which I didn't know. So it got better and better from the original. You can see it's better here, but look at the new one. It basically looks almost like a photo. In fact, it does look just like a photo. So if you look down here, I mean, it's almost perfect for the person. So it's gotten way better. They said it's using way more, vectors and triangles and stuff to make these images as far as resolution. So it's doing a really good job at it. And so now people just aren't as mortified. They still do their hair up, but they're not as mortified. Okay, so we're going to wrap up the news here for the weekend, and post in the comments, what do you guys want to see with this actual weekend news? What's more exciting to you? What's the format you want to see? Should I get some more live interactions? Should I do this show live? What are the topics you want me to cover? I want some help developing this because it seems kind of stagnant. I just need to get more, it's one of the things, I do so many videos a week. I do a lot of products and stuff. As you know, I'm going to be doing some SANs and stuff coming up, including I got some really cool 4 terabyte drives here. I'm doing a whole bunch of videos on products, but as far as my weekend news, post in the comments what you guys want to see, and I'll see what I can do. We will talk to you in the next one. Peace.